Melee, the tool for Tenno with less aim than brains, or for those who want to look a corpus in the eyes before tearing them asunder 2 days before his retirement. You sick freaks need to know how to mod these melees, however, as to not have an awkward encounter in a room full of Grineer wielding no more than a dulled butter knife. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Kurojakku. Lately I've been dragging many fresh baby Tenno into Warframe, not to mention those poor wandering souls still left behind by Destiny 2. So, with that in mind, I decided now is the perfect time to guide you all on the very basics Warframe kind of fails to teach you. While later episodes of this guide will contain light spoilers, these first few will remain spoiler-free. Join me on this series as we break down all the complicated ins and outs, one step at a time. Like and sub for more Warframe content and to stick around for the future guides I'll be posting over the next few months. More about how you can support the channel at the end. This is the Lotus Guide to the basics of melee modding. Hello. I'm definitely still the Lotus. This joke has run its course. Let's take a deeper look at melee weapons, and along the way, some of its unique mechanics that don't really apply to firearms. If you're interested in those or Warframes in general, then I do have a playlist for you that'll be linked at the end. The purpose of this video in particular, however, is to provide you all with both the information you need to truly learn the game, rather than just copying a build, but also to suggest something specific for those of you who are not feeling experimental. Everything you see in the background will be using this very same loadout you see here. This build should easily get you up to and through the quest called The New War, where I will be changing up the loadout for the more advanced modding guide series. You don't have to stick with the Broken War either, as the same general logic will apply to most melees in the game, though there are many variations of melee builds, but that's something we will go over in that more advanced guide. Beginning with the stats themselves. Some are quite simple. Range increases the distance your weapon can reach, though sadly it does not actually make the weapon model itself longer, much to my dismay. Attack speed makes your weapon swing faster, turning you into a blender of animation half the time. Follow through is an interesting and unique stat that reduces how much damage the second enemy hit by an attack takes, and continues to reduce for each additional target struck in a single swing. Daggers tend to have the highest follow through, funny enough, allowing them to have consistent damage, albeit very short reach. Meanwhile, long-reaching weapons like polearms tend to have lower follow-through to keep them in line. And then there is the combo duration, which we will circle back to in a moment, as knowing about crits and status will be necessary to understand it. Critical hits have two main stats. The critical chance determines how often you might crit. The crit damage is the multiplier applied when you crit. Suppose you have a weapon with 100 base damage and a 2 times crit multiplier, a crit will then do 200 damage. Adding extra crit damage mods will boost it to a 3 times multiplier, thus doing 300 damage, and so on and so forth. It's pretty simple there. Crit chance has a little bit more going on, however. It is very clear how it works going from 0 to 100. 100 crit chance means every single swing will thus crit and have that multiplier active. But go beyond that and you will enter the territory of double, triple, and even quad crits. Look at critical chance more like crit tiers, with every 100% being the next tier and anything in between being a chance to hit that next one up. A 150% crit weapon will always crit, with a 50% chance to have a tier 2 crit. Assuming you have a 2 times multiplier and a 100 damage weapon, that boosted crit will instead be 300 damage as opposed to 200. These numbers can get quite large and out of hand, especially once you combine crit damage mods that increase that base multiplier, and then further amplify them doing consistent high crit tiers. Taking a strike that would otherwise do 100% damage up to doing more like 1000% damage. This can be pushed even further once combo count is taken into effect, but we will come back to that. Your status chance is the likelihood a strike will trigger a status instance, or a proc as they're more commonly known. Let's suppose we have exactly 100%, then every single strike will inflict some sort of status. Which effect that lands is then a percent chance based on the damage types on the weapon, and these are weighted based on how much of your damage comes from any given source. For example, a weapon with 100 damage, 50 being slash, 25 puncture, and 25 impact, will then have a 50% chance to inflict a slash status, and 25 for the other two. Any status over 100 is basically starting a fresh instance, so 150% would mean that every single swing will proc once, with 50% of the time proccing 2 statuses, and each of those status would roll the same damage type pool individually. This means you could get 2 slash procs, or a slash and an impact. Once again, I won't be going too far into detail on all the status types, as that is a very long video that will need to happen soon, but this should suffice for now. One last thing before combo counters, I promise you. Stance mods. They determine the actual animations your weapon uses. Every melee class has its own stance mods. Some have just one. Others have a few options to choose from. Which is best is honestly hard to say, and there's not really a good rule of thumb to give you, as there's a lot of little nuances that can make or break a stance for you in particular. So honestly, your best bet is to rank them all up as they don't cost that much, and give them all a go till you find one you prefer. Now we can finally talk about combo count. Quite possibly the most important system for most melee builds in Warframe. Your combo count tracks how many melee strikes you've landed on enemies. After 5 seconds, the entire combo count drops back to 0, but this can be increased with combo duration mods and later some arcanes. There are a few other methods to generate combo innately, that being blocking and finishers. Typically speaking though, most of your combo will come from the actual weapon strikes. However, a quick block attack to stop the timer from dropping can be useful, especially when you are out of melee range. For every 20 strikes, you'll gain a combo increase, starting at 2 times and ramping up to 12 times at maximum. This damage boost is then consumed entirely on using a heavy attack, meaning yes, you can in fact get a 12 times multiplier on a heavy strike on top of all the other multipliers we've had involved. As cool as that sounds, however, you won't be making much use of combo heavies without Tenakai, which is a system that we'll come back to in a later guide as you don't have access to that right away. You will, however, be able to make very good use of the combo scaling mods, such as Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds. These turn combo from just a heavy attack amplifier into a passive ramping stat boost, and this is my personal go-to on just about any melee if I don't have another idea in mind already. On to the build then. We will be using the Broken War today, which you will get for free after completing a second dream, so not really that far into the questline at all. Unlike that pathetic Thornback from the previous video, this thing is genuinely endgame viable and used to be one of the better melees in the game for some time. Starting off with Pressure Point for base damage for a reliable damage increase, followed up with our elemental mods. I went for Viral, but Gas or Heat can be nice as well on melees, especially against Infested, who can be pretty annoying to try and shoot. My beloved Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds, which at full 12 times combo equal to 440% crit chance and status respectively. Seriously, do yourself a favor, go do your Deimos bounties and get these, they are an absolute must-have mod. And rounding out the build, I slap on Organ Shatter for extra crit damage boost, and an additional elemental as a treat. As you can see by the footage throughout this video, this thing shreds just about everything on the star chart, even the pesky Armored Grineer in Kuva Fortress, which don't really last that long. Now, I'm also on Excalibur, who's technically boosting my damage by 10%, but that is a quite minimal boost as it stacks additively with the base damage mods, and well, 10% isn't exactly moving the needle all that much. That is all I have for you today. If you're new, then sub and stick around for next week's guide and all the other things that I have planned. If you're an experienced Tenno and, yet again, don't know how you came across these, then send this to any baby Tenno you know and share any advice you have in the comments below that I may have forgotten. Just be mindful of spoilers on this one. You can support my work further and become a channel member for just $1 a month, putting your name right on this list next to all the others on every video going forward. Thank you for watching, and until next time.